It's finally time. We did an Apex Legends Ultimate tier list. You can check it out here. Then we did an Apex Legends Tactical tier list. You can check it out here. But now we're finally at the finale of this whole thing. Today we're going to be ranking all of the Apex Legends passives. As usual, in a vacuum, meaning the passives not like, you know, in the grand scheme of the legend, because some legends have really strong tacticals and strong ultimates that just carry the legend to S tier with or without the passive doing really anything. But some legends have passives that are like probably the best part of their kit and are the only thing like keeping them relevant, and that's going to be the ones that shoot up to S tier, and the ones with kind of like mid passives are going to be like the bottom, or the ones that have like no passive. Looking at you, you know what I'm talking about. Without further ado, we're going to go into the training ground. First, let's start with Bangalore. There it is. Oh, there it is. Wow. Okay, huge speed boost. Bangalore has one of the greatest passives in the whole game. It is a speed boost anytime she's being shot at, which, if you know how important movement is in this game, having just a free speed boost every time you're getting shot at is kind of nuts. Shooting me. Oh, look at that. Huge speed boost. Easily one of the best passives in the whole game. And it's partially one of the reasons why Bangalore has always been used. Having mobility, having that type of speed, it just feels good. It just feels amazing. I think I would be remiss to not put Bangalore's passive in S tier. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think anybody's gonna disagree with Bangalore being in S tier. Up next, we have Fuse. Fuse's passive is interesting because it's one that is more of like an inventory thing that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is like that important, but it's pretty useful in a game like Apex where grenades are very strong. But essentially what Fuse can do is that he can carry extra grenades. In a white backpack, I would normally only be able to carry 10, but obviously I can get double. I can get double the amount of grenades. If you have a bigger backpack, it gets a little bit nuttier because then you can carry a crap ton of grenades. So you can carry a ton of extra grenades. His other passive lets him shoot grenades really fast and far. So you can see I can shoot it pretty far. Instantaneous grenade launching is never a bad thing. I think that's a pretty solid passive to just be able to carry a ton of grenades and then shoot them at rocket speed. But is that really something that I would want to be my main passive? Not necessarily. It's not bad at all. Having more inventory space is always better. And like I said, grenades in Apex Legends are very, very, very strong. Grenades also require you to, you know, have a little bit of loot luck to find the specific grenades that you need, to find the extra grenades you need, because it's not an unlimited resource. Where Bangalore's and other characters have essentially an unlimited resource when it comes to their passive ability, Fuse kind of requires you to find these grenades throughout the game. And so in the end game, once you run out of grenades, it can be basically a non-existent passive. For these reasons, I do think Fuse's passive is decent. I don't think I can put it any higher than like low B tier. I think that's where I'm going to put Fuse. Next up, we have Ash. Ash's passive is so bad. You use your data knife to scan death boxes to find out where the people that killed them are. The downside of this is that 1, it lets the enemies know that they've been scanned. 2, it only works on death boxes of people that you didn't kill. And 99% of the time, you're going to be looting death boxes of people that you killed yourself. And 3, it's just not that good. One of the cooler passive elements about it though, that I won't discredit her for, Ash's map shows the location of recent death boxes. And now that is actually very useful and something that they should always keep in Ash's kit even if she gets a rework. But otherwise, it's just not a good passive. Being an Ash main and an Ash enthusiast, an Ash friend, hurts. Ash has a low D tier passive. Just having the info of when people fight is good, but it's just not it. Up next is Mad Maggie. It's like not useless, but it's an underwhelming passive. So you see I run slower with a gun out, but with a shotgun, a little bit faster. It's just as fast as if you're holstered. So while this is very good, it immediately limits the composition that you're running with Mad Maggie. You're obviously encouraged to run shotguns and discouraged to run anything else. That limiting aspect to it is a bit disappointing because there's times where you don't really want to run shotgun. You might just want to run SMG sniper, like just things that aren't a shotgun, or even like use a care package weapon. So using a care package weapon is like out of the picture a lot of the time. But she does have another passive that is a little bit better and a little bit more useful, and that's the fact that she can temporarily highlight enemies that you've damaged. Essentially, if you're shooting at somebody, it gives you like a small little like highlight of them so that you can see them through walls and stuff. And that, while in theory is pretty solid, it doesn't usually come up that often. I don't feel like that passive is as consistent as you'd expect it to be. That's the reality of Mad Maggie's passive. It's like, in theory, phenomenal, but it doesn't really come up as often. And then the fact that you're limited to the shotgun is also a bit disappointing. Mad Maggie's passive, it's like low C tier, like really bottom of C tier, like C minus. Sorry, Mad Maggie fans. We're on to Ballistic. Ballistic has a passive where he can equip a sling weapon. What does this mean? It means theoretically, mid-fight, you can chew one gun, switch to another gun, then switch to a third weapon. Wow, if only I was good at this game. While this does seem like really solid, in reality, what ends up happening is that you don't end up really using the third weapon that often. This third weapon can't have any attachments, so you're using the worst version of a third weapon. And it requires its own ammo. You have to either carry extra ammo for your third weapon or carry a weapon that is the similar ammo type. So here I have extra shotgun stuff, so it's fine. That makes it severely limiting. So 90% of the time, Ballistic really didn't have a passive until the ultimate comes out. It does depend on the third weapon. Don't get me wrong. Some third weapons will matter, especially on drop when you have like barely any ammo and you're just picking up everything. You got like an RE45 in the back pocket. It can help you win the fight. Late game, you're never going to really swap to that third weapon until you use the ultimate. It's not necessarily bad. Like some people are probably really good at swapping to that third weapon and making a ton of use out of it. So I'm not going to just demolish it and put it in D or F tier, but like, let's be honest here, it's a bit underwhelming. Yeah, Ballistic is like below Mad Maggie and C, like right there. Sorry, Ballistic fans. Up next, we have Pathfinder, but he does technically have a passive now. His passive is that he can reveal care package contents to fully recharge the zipline gun. Mind you, it's a general skirmisher passive, so all it does is just give you your ultimate immediately. Don't get me wrong, in practice, it's actually kind of useful. Sometimes you whip up the ultimate, you look at a care package, and then bada bing, bada boom, you got another ultimate. But let's also be honest, that's not really a passive. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. Give Pathfinder a real passive, okay? Pathfinder's passive is a top of D tier. It's not completely useless, okay? Relax. Next up, we have Wraith. Wraith can hear things, okay? You hear a voice when danger approaches. As far as you can tell, it's on your side. Let's be honest, though. This passive it's not the greatest. Sometimes it helps you to catch like a rat staring at you, right? Wraith will just be like, they're aiming at you. They're in your sights. That's about it. She'll just say some random info. 90% of the time, that info is stuff that you would already know. And very, very, very rarely is it useful. Don't get me wrong. I think it's like aesthetically really cool. Adds a good little bit of lore. I think Wraith might have one of the worst passives in the game. A passive that doesn't really give you much info. Sorry, Wraith main. Sorry, TTV people, don't kill me. TTV people, don't kill me. It's an F tier passive. It needs to be more consistent. It needs to do more. You're usually already being shot at by the time you get that info. It's like you're like, they're aiming at you. It's like, oh, thanks, people in my head. I couldn't have known. Let's move on to the next one. Octane. Octane might have one of the best passives. Octane, after not being shot for a little bit, passively heals. Look at that. Free passive healing. You may think, okay, well, it's super slow, but yes, but not having to worry about syringing, like topping off that little bit of health, not having to worry about med kitting. You don't even need syringes. And I think that's something that you don't realize is so beautiful about his passive. It saves up space in your inventory slot for more useful things like more grenades, more ammo, more anything else, because you don't need to carry around syringes. And sometimes if you're ballsy, you don't need to carry around med kits, but that's probably just in pubs. I would still carry med kits in rank. In general, I do think it's a pretty underrated passive because having free passive healing is nothing to scoff at. Check it out. Boom. Look at me healing. Look at that. I think Octane's passive, A tier. I think Octane has a solid A tier passive. Our next legend is Revenant. Revenant has so many passives. You can highlight nearby visible enemies who are low on health, and then you crouch walk faster, and you have improved wall climbing. Let's start with the crouch walk wall climbing stuff. You can like kind of like just sneak around a lot faster than most people can, and the climbing is just so good. It's a faster climb too, by the way. It's not just a longer climb, it's also a slightly faster climb, which makes them even cooler. Yeah, and it highlights them for you and your allies, which is crazy when you do that damage. God, I love this climb. The climb is always so fun. I would probably put it there in A tier. It just has different utility in general that does make it really good. So like, I'm not gonna deny it its power. So that's why I'm putting it in A tier. Next is Horizon. Horizon has one of the most fun passives in the game. It is so busted how good it is because you just get so much free mobility. One of the most frustrating things about this game, when you land from a very high place, it kind of just disrupts your momentum. It disrupts your movement. But no, not Horizon. Horizon says, nah, bro, check me out. I got that slide going. Soft landing. So good. That extra boost of movement that you get is just so unfair. It's just so amazing and so strong that I feel like everybody would wish that they had it. In a movement shooter like Apex Legends, it's hard not to think that Horizon is pretty busted, dude. I'd still rather have Bangalore's double time over Horizon's soft landing, but I can't deny it. I think it's very good and should go into S tier. That's where I'm at. Then we got Valk. Valk's passive, kind of cool. Passive is the jetpack. The jetpack is kind of nuts. And there's also another passive that's not even listed here, but you also get scans while in the sky. Those scans are very useful. So off balloons, off evac towers, off your own ultimate. Can't go wrong with that, right? But having a jetpack on command is pretty good. I'm not going to deny that it's a pretty damn good passive, and I would probably put it like in A tier below Octane. I think A tier below Octane is fair. Bloodhound time. What is Bloodhound's passive? Oh, it's the Raven thing. I'm be real with you, dude. I like forgot about this passive, dude. The foes leave behind clues for you to find, so it kind of tells you that people were recently nearby. Look at this. Crow time. Found him. Cool. It's just not as consistent as you'd want it to be, and it's a bit too slow. Like, most of the time, you'd rather just keep moving. The amount of energy and effort you need to put in to actually use this passive, the tracker passive, is honestly, like, not really that good. You know, I do like that the Raven does give you 25% ult charge when it's scanned, though. And getting your ult charged faster is a big deal. If used correctly, it will give you the info that you need to push an enemy, get into the fight. But a lot of the times, it's definitely not doing that. And the Crow, like, runs into walls, and you're just like, well, that was pointless. Put in, like, C tier. I think C's fine. Next up, we got Crypto. Crypto and his teammates see what his surveillance drone detects up to 30 meters. Look, Crypto is always going to be the most impossible legend to rank individually because he's one of the only legends where like each aspect of his kit is revolved around one thing. However, I do think the one thing that he does do is pretty good. Crypto and his teammates get to see what his drone sees. I think this passive is cool. The fact that you can look at these banners and you can see how many squads are in the area. This is great for checking if there's rats, because even though the scan is already amazing for finding rats, this tells you, oh crap, they're in the radius. It's Crypto. I don't know what to do. He's just the most B tier legend ever. I'm putting him in B just to be safe. I don't want to piss off any Crypto fans. You get what I mean? Like, it's impossible. How do I judge the passive that is part of the tactical? That's, you know what I mean? Like, how do I judge the ultimate that's part of the tactical? Everything's part of the tactical. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Next up is Seer. Seer can see people's heartbeats, and this used to be so good. Problem is that there is now a small but very significant slight delay. Before you could just spam it, right? Right now I'm pressing right click. Before you could spam it and you would see heartbeats. You would just know, is there someone nearby? But now you have to hold it, right? Which is fine. It's not that bad. But they also decreased the radius. So I can't even see this guy's heartbeat over here because it's too far away because the radius is so small. So yes, it's a constant ability to find people, but it's just no longer as useful as it used to be. It used to be so strong. It's not completely dog. Gives you about just as much info as Wraith does. It's like, oh, I can hear their heartbeat, but you already heard their footsteps, bro. You already know. F tier. Okay, next up we have Vantage. I bet you don't know what Vantage's passive is. So her passive is that with snipers, if she looks down any scope, like 2 to 3 times, 4 times, I forget which one, she'll have the ability to tell you what armor they have, as well as let you know exactly where your bullet's going to drop, which is pretty cool. So if you're specifically using a sniper, check this out. So I really want to show off the bullet drop off because that's kind of useful. Normally you'd be dead center, but you can actually just aim right where that little dot is. The dot shifted slightly lower. If I aim there, the bullet drop off should be good. Oh, it's so cool. I actually love that. That's amazing, dude. Yeah, that's actually such a useful passive if you're a sniper fan. That's nice. So you get a little bit of a scan action because you can like scan where enemies are and stuff, and you get to tell where the bullet drop off is, and you can also tell what kind of armor they have. So it's not terrible. And without a weapon, you can ADS and still get that same info, which is great. I think that it has its utility to it, like getting info like that, kind of like a mini scan. I'd probably put top of C tier. It's a good spot for Vantage. Getting the advantage by aiming down sights. Now we're on to Gibraltar. Gibby time! Gibby has one of the most broken passives in the whole game, dude. His passive is basically like an extra ability. This passive is a full-on arm shield. You get this arm shield that has a decent amount of health, and it's just so good. If you're crouched, you're basically fully protected for 50 extra health. It's free shields. Obviously, on Gibby, it makes sense. Gibby has a humongous hitbox. However, Gibby, because of his humongous hitbox, also has a second passive. Fortified. Incoming damage reduced by 15% and not slowed by bullets. The fortified ability is nutter butter. It's disgusting. It's so good. Both of those in combination are great. But is it like the best? No, it's like still S tier though. Solid passive. Next we got Lifeline. She has a phenomenal passive ability. While everybody else has to stop what they're doing, stop fighting, stop doing stuff to revive, she can revive with just touching your teammate. This passive is so good. Getting your team up for free is broken. Her passive, I would say it's like S tier. It's so good. You would want the ability to revive for free without having to stop what you're doing and making yourself a sitting duck. Rare lifeline W's, everybody. Mirage, you have a couple passives. Automatically cloak when using respawn beacons and reviving teammates. It's good. Being able to revive invisible is pretty strong, but this game that just won't give him the sauce to be like a little bit more broken with that invisibility. And I think going invisible, while yes, you can get your teammate up, sometimes you can get away with it, but like it's really easy to find you. It's not impossible to find this invisible dude because it makes a ton of noise. It's not bad. It's just kind of mid. Probably Mirage in like low B. Sorry, Mirage fans. Next is Loba. Loba's passive. Loba has the ability to locate epic and legendary loot, which can be seen through walls. The range is the same as the Black Market Boutique. This is dumb. Oh, look, I can see purple stuff. So cool. Let me go get that purple stuff. But you can't like, until you get closer, like, oh wait, I don't need that. I don't really need that purple stuff. It's armor. I already have armor. Is that a Phoenix kit? Oh wow, okay. Like, yeah, like you could be a loot goblin, but who cares about finding loot when you're already winning or like or you're at the final ring? I would trade this for an actual passive any day of the week. It's such a mid passive. I think being able to see only gold and purple items kind of sucks because sometimes I'm looking for like a 2x sight or like, you know, like I'd be cool with finding like a blue barrel stabilizer or a blue stock because I need those things. When you're fully kitted, it's a non-existent passive. Top of F tier, dude. I can't. She needs a real passive. Newcastle. Essentially, when you revive, you get a cool big shield. You get a great shield thing that you can use and you can move around and revive your teammate. You can drag them around and save their life. It's great. I think it's a great passive. It's just a slightly worse version of lifelines. Don't get me wrong, like the shields are very useful, especially if you have a purple knockdown or a gold knockdown. Like it's gonna be a guaranteed revive if you're really good with Newcastle. Newcastle though, I'd probably put it like top of B tier. I think it's a solid revive. It's better than Mirages for sure, but worse than lifelines. So I think top of B tier is a good spot for Newcastle's passive. Okay, Conduit. Conduit's passive is funny. If your teammates are far away, you can run to them a little bit faster. It's good. It's a team-based game. It's important. It just sucks if you're alone or if your team's right next to you. If your team's right next to you, you don't really have a passive. That can suck. I think the passive is fine. It's decent movement. It's definitely not the greatest. I'd probably put I put it like middle C tier. It's fine. Nothing to write home about. We are on to our final four legends, starting with Caustic. Now, Caustic has the ability to gain vision through enemies moving through your gas. That's pretty cool. One of the other things that he has is he's fortified. You know, incoming damage reduced by 15%. That's pretty great. Caustic mains like that. However, the other passive is that they're unaffected by other caustic gases. It's kind of like cryptos where it's like, how do I really grade this? It's good in combination with your tactical and your ultimate, but it's like kind of whatever. In a meta where more people use caustic, it's pretty great. But if nobody else is using caustic, you basically have a passive that doesn't really matter because you're not getting that added bonus of being able to walk through enemy smokes and enemy stinky gas for free. Caustic is literally one of my favorite legends of all time. He has a special place in my heart. It's a pretty mid passive. I would probably put it like still C tier. Now we have Wattson. Wattson has a really nice passive. She has a couple passives actually. Ultimate accelerants, fully charged Wattson's ultimate, which is cool. That's a really fun passive to have because you get your ultimate a lot faster. And she can carry extra ultimate accelerants. Also great. But the best part now is that she slowly restores her shields over time. Now, don't get me wrong. This would be the best passive in the game if she recharged her shields slightly fast. The rate at which she charges her shields is so slow. Okay, so one bar took 48 seconds. So for you to fully heal a purple armor with no shield healing, it would take a little under 4 minutes. Her other passive is the ability to carry extra ultimate accelerants. I can carry double the amount of ultimate accelerants, and an ultimate accelerant will get me my ultimate on the spot. So right now I'm at 9%. Just kidding, I'm at 100%. Incredible. It's pretty good, but like B tier. Middle of the road, pretty solid B tier passive. Okay, I gotta switch to a LMG. Where's the Devo? So she can fast reload LMGs. She gets extra ammo on LMGs. And their fire rate on LMGs is even faster. Look at that. Look at that fast reload. Give me a fully kitted Devo, and Rampart is disgusting. Rampart keeps pulling off some of the most underrated stuff. I love it. Oh my god, fast reloading LMGs feels so good. If you're using other weapons that aren't LMGs, you're not getting maximum value out of her passive. And that, to me, kind of sucks. Her minigun, though, when placed, has more ammo and quicker reloads, but, like, let's be honest, you're not placing the minigun anymore. You're using it like this. You're using it like this because placing it down is not really useful anymore. I personally think that her passive is a bit underwhelming now. Sorry, guys. I don't think it's that strong of a passive. D tier. It's just really limiting. You're forced to use LMGs, and you're not gonna want to use LMGs 90% of the time because LMGs aren't really that good. And when LMGs are good, we're not in a happy place. When the Spitfire was good, the whole world went to chaos. It was bad. Finally, Catalyst. Catalyst, in my opinion, is the only legend that has essentially a second tactical. Her passive is better than some legends' tacticals. If you don't know, her passive is the ability to reinforce doors. And if doors were exploded, she has the ability to rebuild said door. The ability to block doors indefinitely and with basically no cooldown is so strong in a game where holding indoors is important. We as a society need to understand that as long as Catalyst has 2 tacticals, essentially, Catalyst will always be the best character for holding down the indoors. Do you guys hear that? Do you hear that? S plus. Oh my god. You thought there would be no S plus passive, huh? You thought I was gonna get away with no S plus passive, but it was always there. It was right in front of you this whole time. This is the Apex Legends on top, Wraith on the bottom. Who would have thought? Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with this list, if you disagree, and then make your own tier list in the comments too. I'll check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for vibing. If this becomes a video, play the outro now!